Betty boop, Betty boop. Boop boopy doo.
You guys, I'm having such a love affair with this deck. There's something about this deck. It's the symbols, it's the eyeballs. It's the eyeballs, you guys. It's the eyeballs. Which is Ricardo's symbol. Is the flaming heart with the eye in it. And anyways, okay, so we're talking about the Tarot del Fuego. The Tarot of Fire. By Ricardo Cavolo. And he's a Spanish artist who's known for this kind of art style, right? Like this out off the wall comic book like art and vibrant colors, you guys. Like, I love me some muted colors in tarot because, especially like when we're talking about the Centennial and the ancient Italian tarot, which is Marseille that I love. Marseille's in general, I like them to kind of look aged, right? I like them to look I don't know, kind of like this ancient tool that you have, right? But in terms of aesthetics, bold all the way. Bold all the way. Like, I want all these colors, you know? Give me some jewel tones, you know? Like, there's just bright ass colors and fire. I believe that this deck speaks in fire. I believe that if the deck itself was an element, and if it was generating something in terms of elementals, it would be heat. It'd be heat, and it would be it'd have a language in fire. It would have a kind of like we see in the Harry Potter movies. We have this scene where Sirius is in the fireplace and he's like, his head is fire or coals. That's what this deck feels like for me. The deck feels like this face in the fireplace. So but it's not hearth fire. It's heat, and it's love, and it's passion, and it's vibrancy, and it's symbols that aren't hidden. Okay? Because when we're thinking about exo versus esoteric knowledge, there's a difference between esoteric, which is the secret stuff, like the stuff that you've got to figure out. But the way the symbols are laid out in this, it's like it's not hidden. It's like it's there in front of your face. If you would just interpret it, you would know. There's not like some kind of incognito thing going on like you see in normal tarot decks where there is some like esoteric knowledge involved. There's so many things that you have to unpack, you know, and a cup doesn't mean a cup. And, well, that's a bad example. Like a flower means this. And you know, there's just so many things, right? But once you learn, and I'm still learning with this, once you learn what the eyeballs mean and the shooting stars or the ghost, I think some people have referenced them as ghosts. They're these little things right here that look like shooting stars to me, but in some cards they look like ghosts. Okay, here's a good example. Like in this card, it looks like a ghost. Like, I don't know what it is. But in my opinion, it's symbols that aren't hidden. You just don't know what their meaning is, you know. And there's a difference. Like in this is the four. Or I'm sorry, I was just gonna say it's the four. It's the Four of Wands. But to me, this is like the epitome of a bonfire, right? But it being the Four of Wands, I see this kind of course, the flowers, right? But it's like the fire is making the shit grow, right? Like the fire happened, and that's what made all this grow. So, coincidentally enough, there's more fire in this Four of Wands than there is in the Ace. So there's something there too. I love that there's this kind of cosmic background behind the Ace of Wands, because it speaks to me of the divine spark of inspiration coming from more places than just right here. Okay, like, you know, people say that the downloads or whatever you want to call it come from like right above your head. I kind of think of it like coming this way, going in your heart center, and then kind of going whatever. I'm not going to go there today. But the idea that it can be more cosmic than that. The inspiration can be more of on a cosmic level. So there's just certain things about this deck that I've fallen in love with. And I know I'm not showing a lot of cards. We'll do that later, okay? Because I'm gonna kind of make this a vlog. This isn't a fair, okay? This isn't just some fleeting fancy, okay? This isn't a fair. So I'll probably do this in a vlog style where I'll show you some cards. Because when I show them like this, they're backwards, they're mirrored, so sometimes that gets on my nerves. I'm sure it gets on y'all's too. In terms of symbolism, there's symbols that are on almost every card, and you can kind of look them at an individual way. And back what I was saying about the esoteric, those symbols to me represent something specific, and you just kind of have to figure out what they are. For instance, I believe that all the flowers individually, because right here I see a carnation, I see a tulip, and I see thistles and cattails, right? So each flower could represent something totally different. Then you've got the wood, then you've of course got the fire. The eyeballs, he has said in an interview, is about the seen, the stuff that is seen, not with your eyes, but with your eyes, the whole, and I mean like in your whole self, things that you are privy to. Your eyes are open. And what are your eyes open to? And then of course you've got the ghosts / shooting stars everywhere on this card. To me, it's about locating the symbols and then about figuring out what the symbols could mean on an individual level, and then kind of seeing what they mean in terms of the card. And there's some really off the wall representations of these cards. And I don't know. I just feel like this is going to be one of those like pocketbook decks that I'll want to get out. I can mess around with it with the kiddies. I'm going to want to use it with that playful part of myself, but it being a gray deck, I have a feeling that this deck will be a deck that's good for both. Good for play, good for pleasure, But then you can get business with it. You can get some rough messages from it. I just have that feeling that it'll be one of those archetypes in for a deck that will show me like it is. Will tell me like it is. And yeah, it may be rough. Yeah, it may be painful, but it's going to tell me in more of a satirical way. More of a, okay, this isn't a joke, but we're going to laugh about it. Or maybe we'll laugh about it later. But it's hilarious because you fell down, okay? It's just, this deck is the epitome of someone getting hurt and you laughing at it. That's what this is. Sure, that was horrendous. That person fell down, but I can't stop laughing. So just happens to be that you're the person that's laughing and falling. You're both figures when you work with this deck. And I mean, there's just something about the figures in this deck that remind me of me. Not to go too personal, but they remind me a lot of my family, some of my family members. And I can see myself. I can definitely see myself in this deck. And that's why it's going to be, that's why this love affair is going to continue. It's going to keep going. And I'm excited to see what happens.
It's like the best Ace of Cups, right? I put it like an eye, but it's really a boob. Land of milk and honey. This is the best Ace of Cups. There's just something about the fact that the milk is coming out of the nipple. I don't know. It's like some inner child shit right here, Can you remember a time? Can you remember back when this was you? Just staring up at the boob, Waiting on the milk to come out? I don't know. What I love about this is its nod to Thoth. Like in this card, there's an elephant here. I love the eyeballs. I just love the eyeballs in this deck. But what about cards like this, right? This Eight of Pentacles is a workhorse card to me. And when I think about it, this doesn't automatically make me think of the work, the work horse. It kind of makes me think of everyone that's working towards a goal, that's been climbing this mountain, whatever the case, has died climbing the mountain, right? Like, people have died ahead of you, and it's like learning from their mistakes, and it's like, let's learn from the peoples before us and see what works and what doesn't. A lot of these pentacles look like they're falling down this, kind of like pinwheeling it. They're falling down the mountain, but then some of them are going this way, and some of them are going, it looks like they're getting, pushed this way. This house here, there's a lot of symbols of homes or of houses in this deck, and it kind of makes me grapple with what the house means. Maybe it could mean just your abode, like specifically your house, your family. And with this being a pentacle suit, it just kind of a little bit more makes sense. Maybe the money is to go back, into your, you're making money for your family. So I don't know, just one of those things that I love about this. Then there's cards like this. This is the Ace of Swords. I was actually pulling cards with my youngest the other night, and he wanted like 5 cards, and this was one of his cards. And I got to thinking about this being the Ace of Swords and what all that could mean versus what the other cards he got. And what he actually came upon was that these have to be 2 people. These have to be 2 people because of the way the hands are. It wouldn't be one person. And that kind of, at first it made me uncomfortable because I was like, oh, this is the ace. It's supposed to be the one. It's supposed to be the all-encompassing potential of the entire sword suit, and for it to be 2 people martyring themselves upon this sword, almost in a, in this graphic way. What could that mean now that we know that they're actually two people, and they're both bleeding on this? Is the fact that the swords is not necessarily not of the mind, but more about the fight. These mental things that come upon us aren't necessarily always about what we do to ourselves, what we're thinking, what we're worrying about. It's because of our relationship to something else, to someone else, that causes those emotions, right? Those causes those emotions and thoughts, and we battle with things in our minds because of the relationships we have with people and societies, and how they help us grow, like how our brains have adapted in terms of experience. It all goes on, like, because we're not alone in this world. We're not completely alone as we grow and start to learn how to make decisions. Someone else is always kind of there with us, and that kind of made me think of that as well, like how confusing but eye-opening that can be as well. And I love the sense of tattoos in this deck, the sense that the tattoos aren't like a inky black, they're a blue. And that kind of tells me about the ancient tattoos that were used. It was woad, W-O-A-D. It was like a form of indigo that people would draw on their skins with. And that kind of fills me with this ancient vibe, like ancient tattoo art. And researching that, go down that rabbit hole a little bit. This Six of Swords, it's just like, no matter how much it hurts, you have to keep going, right? Now, usually, traditionally, we see this as people in a boat, they're going to the grass is greener on the other side type of a thing. When we think of the Rider-Waite, of course, we're seeing the boat, right? People are going to the other side. The grass is greener on the other side. But then when we look at Thoth, it's science. It's forward movement in terms of going with you're having to make your brain adapt to the new world, modernization. How do we go about that? We go about that by learning, and we go about that by rewiring our brains so that we can evolve as humans. We can continue to evolve. And mixing both of those together, those two systems, I mean, this kind of makes a little bit more sense, because I don't believe that this is based off of Rider-Waite-Smith, and I don't believe it's based off Thoth, but I believe that there's kind of lying somewhere in the middle. And for me, when I mixed both, it kind of made me think of, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much it bleeds, you have to keep going. And you have to find, right? Because for some reason, it's like the fire right here is behind this figure, and the flowers that are getting grown out of this bigger flame is what we're going towards, right? And I think it nods to the pain and suffering that humans go through when we're kind of forced to go onto a path, and we have to do it. We have to do it no matter what. So I love that. Like this Eight of Cups. Now the Eight of Cups to me is someone that's like moving, you know, they've kind of moved away from the cups that they have. They're not really appreciating what they have in a typical sense. I guess what I wanted to say about this was that in the Rider-Waite, we get like this sense of walking away from something that, you know, you don't really know what you have, things like that. But with the Thoth, it's indolence, right? So it's laziness, and it's just like so perfect of an image, because when we let things go in a lazy way, right? Not really knowing what we have, right? We've kind of let the ivy grow around this column, and we haven't even realized it, right? There was something about what we'd already done in terms of our, you know, in terms of what we thought we'd already done, and we kind of let it overgrow, you know, like there's some overgrown aspects to this that I just love, that speaks to the Eight of Cups. And like if you're just looking at it, it doesn't make any sense. I got some more pink cards. I've got this cup card, which is the 9, which is right after this. This card would traditionally be gain in the Thoth system, or like this, you know, smug man is sitting in front of his bar full of cups, right? But the accomplishment aspect of the 9 is what is prevalent, or the most, I guess, because when you realize this, then you can start to gain. I love how all these cups are like pouring down. These little butterflies, these little yellow butterflies, they remind me of, well, first, they remind me of those tiny yellow butterflies that people say are your loved ones that are coming to say hello, which is what I was always taught. But then the way they're shaped, they make me think of the bread and butterflies from Alice in Wonderland. And it's just always nice when I can make that kind of connection. But I love how they're upside down, watering the garden. And I don't know, it's just something about this. And then the last cup is the Knight. The Knight is so cute. He's so in touch with his emotions, but he's kind of like he stops and smells the flowers too much. In terms of his composure, he's such a calm being, you know, in my opinion. But it's kind of embodied here. Like, he's been born, this horse has been born and made through the cup suit, and he lives it, and he breathes it, and he loves it. He loves to just be calm and cool and collected, and he loves to be in the moment. And him with this butterfly on his nose, that's just the embodiment, the perfect embodiment of the Nine of Cups. And it's just so perfect. I don't know. Okay, I'm literally sitting here chilling. And I love these cards, you guys. Look. Okay, first of all, this is the 9 of Wands. Look at this two-headed jester-looking figure in the middle of this fire, going up to get this cup of water. Okay? And to me, the message just speaks to, like, you know, the 9 of Wands is just like that, you know, he's barricaded there and he's like, the battle's been won or whatever. But this is just like I don't know, it's just like he has to keep going. He will do what he has to do. And I think that's a powerful message for the 9 of Wands. You know, he's just, yes, there's a fire, and he can choose to go away, or he can choose to do something about the fire, and he can choose to go and get that glass of water. So I think that was beautiful. First of all, how much does this princess, actually this is the queen, I'm sorry, princess. I'm about to get into why I say princess. Or the Queen of Swords. I mean, the eyeballs, the dragons, it's just beautiful. But how much does she look like Princess Peach? Like, for real? I love her. I love her. I love the eyeballs. I love the dragons in this deck. I mean, it's just so good. So good, you guys. Okay, what was next? Oh. Another queen. Is the Queen of Pentacles. And this sea mama here. Gosh, my arm. Oh, no. Yeah, fly off. This Queen of Pentacles here. It kind of speaks to legacy to me, because they've used their money to make, to immortalize this mom, right? Like this queen figure. And it's almost like what I would consider a monument. Like they've used the money to build a statue. They've used the money in a sense of regalness, like giving back to the community in terms of a statue, or giving back in terms of reverence, right? There's reverence here to me. And because she's on the bottom of the ocean, it's the acts of generosity that we don't often see. Like, we don't often see what's in the bottom of the ocean, right? So it's something that you've done that's just from the bottom of your heart that is good, right? I've got the Knave. No, they're two different suits. Okay. The Knave, which is the page of Wands. Blah, blah, blah. I love this. She just looks so much like me. I like that she's a peg leg, because it means that she hasn't really done a lot of work. She hasn't done a lot of work to lose all of her limbs, because as we see in some other wand cards in this deck, a lot of people have lost like multiple limbs. But there's a fearlessness with this, I think, that there's this cave that's full of eyeballs, which eyeballs to me is about like waking up, right? But it's also about fear, and it's also about like looking in the face of what you don't know, and not being scared to go after, not being scared to keep going. I think that the princess holds so much fearlessness. That can be a problem. Fearlessness there can be a shadow side to fearlessness. You can just run right off the side of a cliff, you know? But, you know, so there's a little bit of the naivete with the Page of Wands, really, but I don't know. She's got her little staff and torch, and she's just gonna keep on going, you know? I just like that there's a cave, right? And then this skull here, it kind of nods to the fact that someone else has tried to go in this cave. It's like someone else has tried to go in this cave and they died. Like, the Knight. So this is the Knight of Knight of Pentacles. And this is just work. And it's about, you know, someone in a walkthrough I watched of this said something about, like, I would not employ this person, but I would. Like, they're riding their horse until there's nothing but bone left. They're just going to keep working until the job's done, right? Like, that's, you know, even though this horse is bones, the knight is still really driven to get whatever the job is done. I love that, because it's like there's storms and there's caves that you can, you know, take refuge in, but you've decided to just keep on going. Night is coming. There's the web is like, you know, you're stuck, but you know, you're not allowing yourself to stay stuck. But then there's, again, the shadow aspect of this card for me. This particular card, okay, this particular card for the Knight of Pentacles would be the shadow side of, like, you're working too much. You've set this impossible goal for yourself as to, like, when you're going to get shit done, and then you just you got your eye on the finish line, and you're not stopping to take rest and things like that. So just love the aspect of, like, the thinking that this deck ensues. The Devil, okay, because he's so sexy. He's just so sexy. Look at this. Oh, So sexy. He's just tattooed. He's a snake monster. His bats, like the bats are like biting him. Like vampire bats are biting him. But I like, there's still a lot of eyeballs, but in this card, the eyeballs are yellow. So, and they're not yellow in any other card. They're white. So this kind of makes me think of what yellow eyes could represent. Yellow eyes to me is liver damage. Okay. And then he's got these piglets down at the bottom that are just so it just looks so squeal worthy. It kind of reminds me of Wednesday and Pugsley Adams. And this actually looks like Gomez, to be honest, a red Gomez. But then it also looks like Jafar as a genie. Like, this looks like Jafar as a genie at the end of the movie. And he's just this Billy Badass at the end of the movie, trying to be Billy Badass, but you guys, there is such shadows in these cards. I was reading an article that I guess with Ricardo Cavolo, and one of the last questions in the interview was, what would you change about the world, right? And I'll leave the quote on the screen. And he said money. He said, I would make all the money in the world disappear. And I thought that was so profound that he said that. But it just kind of, you know, he went on to say, like, one more statement, I think it was, about the fact that most of the world's problems stem from money, right? You can see that in this deck. Like, when we look at the 3, right? In my opinion, the 3 is like this sense of, we're barely growing here. You know, we've barely grown. And it's kind of like, you know, there's still a lot to be done. But this kind of nods to this treasure here, this bag of money, and having to do what you have to do to get this money. And how this is kind of like the shadow of this card. Like, when you have to do what you have to do to get money, sometimes that leads to crime. Sometimes that leads to theft, right? And it's just like kind of goes on to doing what you have to do to make the money. It's just like such a hard card to deal with. And even this, like, to me, the coins on the eyeballs make me think of death, make me think of, you know, death, and then in the mouth it's like paying the reaper. The devil, the pitchfork here, of course, to me nods to the devil aspect of the entire suit, even though this is just a 4, right? And then you have this, you know, like this sense of like you're worrying over, you see the house is upside down and it's on fire, and then there's this big flood coming, and it's like you're looking at what all you love, and it's kind of, you're obsessing and worrying about it, worrying about where your next paycheck's coming from, or, you know, worrying about how to keep your house safe and things like that. And the stress, the worry of it all is, you know, of course, making you teary-eyed, but it's causing these boils, these stress boils is what they look like to me, like stress lesions. So this is a really shadowy card too. And you got the 7, you know, way over here with this jester figure that's just kind of hanging out in the sky, kind of flying. The floor is lava. It's heated, but you have to kind of go where the opportunities are. Kind of like he's made that decision, right? He's made the decision. He can't fly. Something's happened to him and he can't fly, but the bird can fly. And it's just like this decision that has to be made to pick which bird you get your money from, you know, put all your eggs in one basket type of a thing, try to prioritize. And that's what I see here. Anyway, it's just kind of like, whoa, it's like out there. And then you get the 10, who's this, I don't even know, like this grandmother from hell. This kind of reminds me of the TV show Queen of the South. This, you know, the epitome of someone who has it all together, or all organized,
and, you know, stacks of money. You got your liquor here. And the sense of evilness, right, with the bat wings, to me, kind of nods to like the evil nature of having an empire, right? A monetary empire. What maybe he's seeing as like a depiction of like a crime lord or a crime boss. This is what I see here, like some kind of, you know, Reservoir Dogs type situation. And then you've got this. This is like the page, you know. And to me, I guess we'll turn these over so y'all can see her better. There's, again, this evil nature, but also it's like, what I see here is thank you to all the little people I've stepped on to get here. Oh, that sounds rough. But it's just like I'm seeing the shadow of Ricardo in this suit. There's just something about it being the evil side of money. And that's kind of the message. And I guess because of that interview I read with him, it just kind of all makes sense when you look at these cards now. So, you guys, I'm having such fun with this deck. He's so fun. He's so cheeky. And he's taking me for a ride.